I wanted to talk about Jim Carrey and the modern phenomena of celebrity awakening. Now I have to say, when I came out of retreat and I saw that there were many people online claiming to have become awakened, I was quite surprised. But if you think about it, when somebody famous like Jim Carrey claims to be awakened, then naturally his followers, people who admire him, will think, well, if Jim Carrey can do it, then why can't I? And I think that's probably what's happened. It's become very trendy. And it reminds me of that period in the late 60s and 70s when many musicians and celebrities were dabbling in spiritual practice. There are people like Santana, George Harrison, etc. And I think that's what's happening these days. There's this kind of upsurge in interest in spiritual practice. So anyway, why would I want to talk about Jim Carrey? Well, it's not going to be for his benefit. It's unlikely that he will even be aware that I'm making a video about him. And even if he was aware, it's unlikely that he would listen to me. But I think it will be beneficial because there will be many people out there who are in a kind of similar position to him, who are at the same stage in their practice and could be beset by this similar pitfall. And so I do see it as a pitfall because I do not believe that he's awakened, and I have reasons for that. So correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, he says that he's awakened, and not only that, he claims to have realized non-thought or the illusory nature of thought, things like non-duality, etc. So why do I think this isn't the case? Why do I think he isn't awakened? Well, it's because of something he said subsequent to that. After claiming to be awakened, then I also heard him say, he made this statement, that yes, I know what I need to do now, implying that he has identified this object of meditation. He has identified what authentic meditation is, or the true nature of reality. But unfortunately, it's not stable, so it comes and goes. And when I heard those words, I recognized them because many people make this similar mistake. And so what I have to say is, if you have this feeling that your meditation comes and goes or isn't stable, it's a sure indication that you haven't identified authentic meditation. And that's because somebody who has identified authentic meditation will never make these statements like, my meditation is unstable, or it comes and goes. It doesn't make sense for somebody who understands meditation. It's kind of an inner conflict. It's a sure sign that your meditation is based on a conceptual fallacy, that you fabricated an object, using that as a focus, then you try to meditate. And the reason why you create this fallacious object is because you want to accommodate a belief system or tell yourself that it is a view that you hold. But unfortunately, this view being mistaken, then it won't provide stable meditation because there will be this inner conflict. As long as there are inner conflicts, then there is what we call unstable meditation, and then you have this feeling that sometimes I can meditate and sometimes I cannot. So to give an example, in Jim Carrey's case, he claims to have realized non-thought, or that all thoughts are false and illusory. But for him, I can guarantee thoughts arise. So when sitting in meditation, telling oneself that thoughts don't exist, having thoughts arise will cause an inner conflict and will stop your meditation from being stable. Because whenever you're meditating, you'll be looking for this mistaken object. This is where you're placing your mind. It's in this fabrication. You have fabricated a belief in a view that you yourself do not hold. And this makes your meditation unstable. It is an interesting point because one can hold an authentic view that is a mistaken view for oneself. For example, if I try to pretend that there is no thought, but in my meditation, thoughts are continually getting in the way, then although ultimately that is a true statement, that thoughts don't exist, for me, they very much do exist. And conversely, one can hold a mistaken view, but that view can be valid for oneself. So if you believe thoughts arise, and for you thoughts do arise, they won't cause this kind of conflict. And so you can meditate happily on conceptual objects, on visualizations, etc. Furthermore, you can create a stable meditation in these conceptual objects. But if you tell yourself that thought doesn't exist, however, thoughts still arise, then you will have this conflict, and having this conflict will not give you stable meditation. Now, why is this apparent to me? Well, quite frankly, it's because after being many years in retreat and spending thousands of hours meditating, and meditating not like a hobby, but basically it's a full-time job. And not only that, you're surrounded by other people going through the same thing. So you identify your own mistakes and the mistakes of others, and these are kind of common pitfalls. to somebody who's been around and has done a lot of meditation, then these are things that you often observe, on the meditation mat. So what is important for you as the practitioner? Well, for you, the most important thing to do is to erode these conceptual fallacies, to get to the root of these mistaken ideas and eradicate them. How do you eradicate them? Well, you don't eradicate them by somebody telling you thought doesn't exist. So for me, thought exists. I can guarantee you, for me, thought exists. And a teacher saying to you, thought doesn't exist, doesn't help me, because it does exist for me. What I need to do is I need to look into whether thought exists or not. And the easiest way to do that, and probably the only way to do that for most people, is to be guided. Be guided by somebody who has experience in meditation. And not only that, somebody who understands my kind of way of thinking. For example, if you're a Westerner, it's helpful to have a Westerner guide you, because they will understand your kind of way of thinking or your cultural context in which you operate. And that's very helpful. And unfortunately, without that, it's almost impossible. But for you, what you can do is try not to accept the statements of others without investigation. Try to be more pragmatic. Look into things yourself. And although something may appear in the text and may sound really good, like everything is non-dual, for example, accepting something we don't ourselves believe is not beneficial and will never lead to stable meditation. Thank you very much.